Welcome to the Happy, Healthy Life Podcast with your hosts, Rob and Randy, who reveal the truth, the lies, and confusion about health so that you are no longer the victim to mainstream medical dogma and you are the hero to your own happy, healthy story.
There you go. Happy Healthy Tuesday, and welcome back to the Happy Healthy Life Podcast, where we actually put a new episode out every Friday. You can hear the best and the newest episodes. I wouldn't say the best, but the newest episodes because they're all great. And what did y'all think of the episode last week with Renee Marino? Give us a yes if you thought that was amazing. Let us know if there's anything that you guys heard, something that she said that you really just took away with you, that is something that you were able to implement immediately into your life. I know for myself, I was able to just change the way I was looking at the world through just being grateful all the time, right? I know we saw a video of Renee yesterday when we got home, and it was really cool just to be able to see her. She's just a positive light. So if you are not following her, definitely make sure that you start following her. And today is going to be an amazing episode as well. Sharon says the negative comment of venting versus being constructive. That was really, really huge.
I'd never heard it communicated that way, but I thought it was beautiful. Yeah, she did a great job. And, she's, we're going to help make sure that you guys get more access to these type people that we have been blessed to have in our life that are making a huge impact on us and really embody the happy, healthy life. Like, that if you got to go to her Instagram feed, you got to watch that story. She had on like a white shirt and she was being so grateful because she didn't get anything on her shirt. And she was like, this is amazing. I'm so excited about this. She was doing a little dance and it was so cute and funny. But like these little things make the difference. I know if I had on a white shirt, definitely if I've got on white pants, they're going to be dirty. I'm spilling something on them. I can't get out of the house typically half the time. I'm still grateful. But yeah, that was really good. So go watch her latest Instagram story.
Yeah, I think one of the things that stuck with me, and it could be you guys as well, is that anytime, for example, if I'm posting anything to social media, whether it be to you guys, to our different platforms, is to remind people that, you know what, we're all we're all on the same boat. And if there's a struggle that I have, it's probably a struggle that somebody else has. And if I was able to overcome that, then it could actually be helpful for somebody else that may be going through that, versus like you just said right there about the venting, right? Versus being constructive. We always want to make sure that we're being constructive. And that's where it changes from, a complaint, right, to something that was an actual learning lesson. And I truly believe that there's no good in life. There's no bad in life. And it's all good. I even had a learning lesson that Renee helped me through that just happened even this morning. I'm so rigid and very structured with my schedule, where it's my reading time in the morning, reading the Bible, reading something constructive, doing my meditation. And it was like the first thing that happens, it's a Monday morning, and I look and my phone is just going crazy. And with this trip that we've got coming up for our clients to Ischia, Italy, it's all about this trip and things that haven't been done that need to be taken care of. And I know in the past I would have been really annoyed about that because it's messing with my schedule. And that's one of the things that I've really been working on, is being open to whatever life brings to me that needs to get taken care of, and look at it as a way to be able to grow from that. And made sure that all those things got handled, went back and did my reading. I had already done my meditation before I had looked at my phone, thank goodness. But for me, it really just opened that up to really looking at those things as a positive thing. And all those things got taken care of where they would normally have not gotten taken care of before 8 a.m. in the morning. They still got taken care of. So that was helpful.
That's what I learned. You, man.
Yeah, I know.
Maturity.
You know that about me.
If anybody knows you, I know you. I'm so proud of you. That's very mature. But like we always say, life doesn't happen to you. It's happening for you. And every situation is an opportunity to grow, become a better version of ourselves, handle things differently. Heck, even I think I even had a maturity moment this last weekend. Remember when I had that? We'd been at a conference. We were at an incredible health conference this last weekend, and I ended up being in like a cutoff sleeveless shirt, and we ended up going over to a restaurant, and they wouldn't let me into the restaurant at this place we were at. And typically maybe I would have been annoyed by that. And I was like, well, what's the solution to this without me having to go back and change? She's like, I can bring you a jacket. So she brought me this big oversized jacket in my shorts. I was able to get into the restaurant, and I was very, very happy that was possible. And I didn't get upset. I didn't freak out. And it was really kind of funny. It was a maturing moment for me that I didn't let that even irritate me. So
yeah. And then the Dallas Cowboys won 40-0. And then there was that.
And then I was really happy. And then my Texas Longhorns beat Alabama. So, and I couldn't lose for winning this last weekend.
There you go. So let's get into the podcast for today. So today what we want to do is we want to talk to you guys. I know sometimes we talk about some negative things that are happening in the world of health, what actually they call health, which is not health. But today we want to give you guys some trends that are happening right now in the world of holistic health and wellness, and some things that you can start putting into your life or into your lifestyle, the things that you do on a daily basis. We're around some just incredible healers in the holistic health and wellness world this last week. And it just got me thinking that there are a lot of really great things that are out there. And I think, though, before we start even getting into that, one of the things that we always have to make sure that we get to is we're always coming from a place of, the belief in the fact that God made our body to heal and to be well, and all healing comes from above down, inside out. And we start with a great foundation, because we always want to make sure that we get to this place of being as whole as possible. And, here's something that I learned this past weekend. One of the folks that we were talking to, she said it to me this way, because I think that a lot of times we always say, let's be healthy, mind, body, spirit. And she goes, it's backwards. It should be spirit, mind, and body, right? Because of our belief system is that all health and healing comes from above down and inside out. That's actually first. So that changed the way I look at things. So I think that that's why when it does come to our bodies, we have to remember that it's not just one thing that our health is coming from. It's coming from all of these different things. And just having that firm foundation that all healing does come from within.
Yeah, no, that's the foundation to it all. That, people ask me all the time, how did you overcome late stage cancer? Like, what did you do? Where did you go? What treatments did they do to you?
What were the ingredients in the supplements that they were giving to you?
I get all these questions, and they're normal questions, because it doesn't make sense when they're telling me you've got 2 months to live, and then 90 days later, by going a different route, I'm completely restored. So the questions make sense, but the question I think a lot of people miss is related to this topic is what saved my life wasn't the doctor I went to. It wasn't the treatments that I got. It was the mindset of like, wait a second, cancer isn't making me sick. I was already sick. That's why I got the cancer. And I really had that belief that my body, that health was the norm, and that cancer or all other symptoms are the abnormal. So it's all about creating that right environment where your body can thrive. I didn't need to be healed of cancer. I was already healed. That's already been done. I needed to stop interfering. And that was my journey. Where's my body not adapting? Where's it breaking down? But that was all possible. And the only reason I had the strength to make those decisions and ask those questions was my belief that God made my body to be healthy and well, and that is the normal. And then, of course, once you put the belief to the test, it becomes a conviction. So you better believe it. When I talk about health and wellness, I'm speaking from my own journey. If I can overcome late stage cancer, there is nothing that any of us cannot do. So metabolism, we got that right. And everything about what we do is all metabolically based, because we know everything has a metabolic component to it. As you guys have experienced the non-weight loss victories and the changes you've seen, I'm telling you, what you guys are doing for yourself is incredible. That's the best insurance policy you'll ever invest in, is investing in yourself and your health. So this gets me fired up.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that first thing that we just talked about is the importance of understanding that, there is a higher power at work here. in our lives. And we have to recognize that first and foremost. I don't think that's a trend, because that's something that's been around forever, right? If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be here right now. Okay, so that's not a trend. The first trend I want to talk about, though, is the importance of mental health and well-being, because everything does, trickle down from spirit then to mind and has to pass through here. So we've got these stories, we've got these belief systems that start at a very early age. And we met this gentleman this last weekend. His name is AJ, and he does some wonderful, wonderful things in the world of mental health when it comes to, and here's who he loves to work with. He works with youth. And I thought that was beautiful as well, because I don't like to work with adults, just because he's like, adults have these belief systems, these stories they've been telling themselves their whole entire life, and it's really hard to get them out of that. But if I can be able to get a kid at an early age to really see that he was created for a purpose, to be able to be a purpose for the entire world, he's like, then I can truly make a difference. And so one of the things that he was saying is that something that one of the first things that he teaches the kids that he's working with is just having a spirit of gratitude and putting that into practice on a daily basis. Not only having a spirit of gratitude, he also said a spirit of forgiveness. And the first person that you should forgive is yourself, right? Yeah. If forgiveness is about you, it's not about the other person. And so it's these things that we hold on to throughout our life, that it's all really energy that we're holding on to, right? Energy is not created, right? It just changes forms. And so if you're bringing this energy in through these thoughts that go into our body, they go somewhere. And so for some of us that have had these different aches and pains and different types of disease processes in the body, a lot of that happens as a result of just holding on to this resentment of unforgiveness. And so I know even for myself, there was some unforgiveness that I had before, that once releasing that really greatly helped me with my lower back and lower back pain that I have. So that was huge. And then he said,
about it when you get stressed, where do you kind of, the pain will go to those areas.
Always, I feel it in my lower back.
You hang on to it. Even like at almost all of us, when there's what's always in place, when you end up in a health crisis, is some type of stress or emotional stress. Like even for me, my father's passing hit right around the time that I was getting diagnosed with the cancer. So I had some anger, I had unforgiveness, I had shame that I couldn't even help my own father not die. That somehow that was my responsibility. And so yeah, I think that played a huge role with my cancer emotionally, and the anger that I felt in my heart. And one of the reasons I think my liver was fully congested, and I wasn't even drinking any alcohol. So
yeah. So if you want to help yourself out health-wise, right, just follow what it is that AJ taught us, and just have a spirit of gratitude. I, practically speaking, write down 5 things that I'm grateful for every morning. Spirit of forgiveness, who's someone that you need to forgive. Go through that, forgive that person. Start with yourself. And then just also have a spirit of appreciation. So those were the 3 things that he talked about, just appreciating something as simple as, not spilling anything on your white shirt, right? And so just like Renee had taught us. So mental health is important. The next thing, here's a trend, and we're going to actually talk about this. I want to talk about this trend because I know that people that are listening, seems like conversations always come to this, right? Anytime we're having conversations with anybody, even this last weekend, right? We're around all of these holistic healers and whatnot. And anytime we have food, or we eat lunch or dinner with somebody, they always ask us this question, right? Are you guys vegetarians? Because there's this health trend right now about plant-based eating being the way that people should and or need to eat. Right. Okay, let's talk about this trend, because what you're feeling regarding plant-based eating.
Well, let me go back to that in a second. I want to, the point you made there was interesting because like you said, we were at this conference, and we're at these conferences all the time. We're very well connected in that world. We're really one person away now, really, from anybody that we get access to. These are some of the most brilliant minds in the world. Yet what's crazy about that is their own health isn't even that good, or a lot of their significant others or their family is really unhealthy, which will tile this up with that. But going back to that, it is interesting because when we go eat anywhere, people look at us, they look at our lifestyle, They look at how we teach health and they want to know what we're going to order and eat.
Always.
And for a lot of people, they've kind of fallen into that trap of this plant-based lifestyle. All right. So here's what I would say. And this is the thing that I don't like when I see it. And I see it from a lot of the people that you guys would know. They're influencers all over social media. And they say that that food is medicine. And guys, food is not medicine. Plants are medicine. Absolutely they are. So food is not medicine. Real food is all the bioavailable nutrients, minerals, and vitamins that we need to nourish our body, that our body recognizes, can break down, digest, utilize, and eliminate. Plants are medicine. So you don't want to make your major part of your lifestyle medicine-based. You want it dense, nutrient-based. So I'm not saying never eat a plant. I'm not saying that they're all going to make you sick or that they're not valuable on some level. And as you guys know, you've gone through a program. There are key plants, vegetables that we recommend based off different disruptor patterns and how those should be prepared for most bioavailability. But really, you want to move away from a real plant-based life, because the reality is the most bioavailable nutrients, they are in ruminant animals. They're in animal fats. They're in animal meats. And if you look at it ancestrally, that's what our ancestors were eating. Plants were more for famine, more for survival. They weren't the mainstay of what you should be eating to try to get to a certain level of health. Not to mention, so all plants are toxic on some level. They do have anti-nutrients. They do have defense chemicals. So plants can't run away like an animal to defend themselves. They don't really want to be eaten. In fact, if you eat them, they want to make you sick, so you never eat them again. That's how they survive. So knowing how to prepare these things properly, which ones are best, which ones to avoid, there's a lot to navigate there. But basic, just to make it really simple, if you're living off vegetables and plants and you're not eating quality protein from animals, you're really going to become nutrient deficient. You're not getting your taurine, your anserine, your carnosine, your L-carnitine. You're not getting heme iron. You're going to be deficient in key B vitamins. There's really no way possible to be at your optimal health when your whole plate looks like a bunch of plants and you're not eating red meat. By the way, we're eating less red meat now than we have ever in the last 100 years. We're eating less sugar and we're eating less calories. So those less red meat, less sugar, and less calories. And Americans right now, as you guys know, we're over 74% overweight, obese, chronic illness rampant across the board. And over 92% of Americans are metabolically unhealthy, which is why you want to include the highest quality foods into your diet, and be careful with those plants. They're not always what they're cracked up to be. It's probably a whole nother podcast in and of itself. But to be any questions or feedback on that, because you're really good, Dr. Robin, helping like pull out some of those things, get clarity on some of those things. You know me, you kind of like I can get going.
Well, and I love it. And so that's one of the things that I love about it. You just the way your mind thinks, especially on the biochemistry and scientific part of things, but also bringing that back to a practical level. And here's a practical thing on this. You know what? Everybody's body is different. I know for my body what works for my body, right? Yeah. And I know how it is that we got here. We even, we're having this conversation at lunch with some other healers that were there, and one of them had even said, even eating because she was waiting for us to order, right? And as we ordered, it's always the conversation comes back to is, are they just going to want to eat, plants and vegetables or whatever? Yeah. She's like, no, I actually eat meat. She goes, I never felt worse than when I actually was a vegetarian and went down that road for like 10 years and then coming this way. So we, this is what works. This is what works for us. However, like you just talked about, the science is there that actually backs it up. So that's what I love about it. So that's what we'll say about that. Here's the next trend. And this is the other question that we always get. Always. As soon as we sit down at the table, and it's funny because we're always the first to order because they want to see what it is that we're going to order, which is funny to me. And so then this is the next question. Okay, if you guys aren't vegetarians, how often do you eat? So the next trend is intermittent fasting and or time restricted eating, right? And so the importance, and we'll talk about the importance of that, but, my answer to them is, for myself, I eat 2 times a day. I keep my feeding window within 6 hours. That's just what works best for my body, right? Whether it's my metabolism, the way I feel, the way I heal, all of those things together. So it doesn't matter what I'm putting into my body, but when is an important thing for me. Mm-hmm. And then every week, I'll do a 24-hour fast from Sunday to Monday. This week, because we were traveling, we didn't get back until yesterday. I actually just moved that over a day. So that's today. I'm doing a 24-hour fast today.
I'm doing that with you, by the way.
There you go. Yeah. So I ate last night around 7 o'clock. And then I think I was probably asleep after traveling by like 9 o'clock. So rest and sleep is important. However, then I'll eat again today, tonight at 7 o'clock. But for me, that's what works best for my body. Now, with that being said, okay, what are the benefits of time-restricted eating or eating in windows? What people are talking about being intermittent fasting. What are some of the benefits of that?
Yeah, no, listen, the science is out there. You can't refute it. There's a lot of benefits to time-restricted eating or fasting. Of course, fasting's been around for a very long time. I know one great man who did it for 40 days. So listen, it's a big deal. However, I think that in the real benefit, guys, it's really more, there's an enzyme pathway in our body called AMPK. What it does, it activates a process called autophagy. We've talked about it multiple times. A lot of you guys are probably very familiar with autophagy. Autophagy, you're literally eating yourself. So if you're eating yourself, you probably don't want to stay in that state of eating yourself too much or too often for some of us, because when your body's in that state of repair and regenerating new tissue, tapping into stem cell, getting rid of some of the old, dead, diseased tissue and abnormal cell function, which is what autophagy is doing. But if you're constantly in a state of self-eating, what can happen is you'll start to increase the rescue hormone called cortisol, okay? And I think I got overly addicted to fasting coming out of my cancer diagnosis back in 2010, because at that time, the mistake you and I both were making is we were eating 5 to 6 times per day, small little meals. Who's ever done that before or heard of that strategy, right? And there's no scientific evidence to support eating more than 2 to 3 times per day from a thermogenic standpoint when your body creates and generates heat to burn calories. So the average American's eating around 18 times a day right now, by the way. Did y'all know that? And you're thinking, well, I don't do that. Well, a lot of you may have done that because it's only about 30 to 40 calories to break the fast and to come out of autophagy. So you're talking about a bite of a cookie, sip of a latte, right? A handful of nuts, right? A sip of your Dr. Pepper, chewing gum, which can stimulate insulin, break a fast, your breakfast, your lunch, your dinner, your protein bar, your protein shake. It's like all day long, you're biting and grabbing and snacking. So that's where that number comes from. But going back to the fasting, that's the mistake I was making. So I went into an opposite trend of not wanting to be in growth mode, which the opposite of autophagy is called mTOR. That's the pathway of growth where your body's building new tissue. And so I was trying to always be in that growth mode before I got cancer. Now I've wanted to kind of find, and then I went the opposite way and went full-blown fasting, always in autophagy. And now for me, I have found more of a happy medium as well. So my schedule now isn't always about fasting or always about eating. It's about really listening to your body. I only eat when I'm hungry, all right? And I'm typically hungry 2 to 3 times per day. Yep. And I try to keep my window of autophagy around 12 hours and my window of growth in mTOR where I'm eating into 12 hours. So I'm about a 12 hours. I'm a breakfast, lunch, dinner, and then I do throw in a 24-hour fast. So there's a lot of benefits to all of that. But if you've been a chronic dieter or you've been a chronic faster, you may be in such a low energy state that you may have such high levels of cortisol, right? That your body's now storing fat. Doesn't matter if you eat 200 calories, you can't lose a pound. It's because your body's been conditioned to store fat, which is why our program is so powerful to lay down that metabolic foundation.
Yeah. And I needed our program just to be able to understand what was best for my body. So I love that you said that about how it is that you do it versus how I do it, because we're different, right? And so,
Totally.
yeah, so even though we're business partners with the company, we still don't do the exact same things because both of our bodies are different.
Yep.
And I think which is going to be really cool because we have some questions about people asking us about different blood testing that we might recommend or other different things that that could be done after somebody completes our program. And something that we've been working on is our next level program that's going to be unveiled in Ischia, Italy here in just a few weeks.
Yeah.
And we were working really hard on that this past week. And I think what you guys are going to see is this next level program that does have some of that testing included into the program that's going to help us to be able to determine with more specificity where people need to go once they've already developed a baseline for themselves.
That's the key.
So you got to develop that baseline first. Once we've got that baseline, now we've leveled the playing field and we can be able to accurately, with specificity, be able to track health markers as your is continuing to keep on getting healthier and healthier and healthier, because longevity really is the name of the game. There's so many different, the next trend is with holistic health and wellness is longevity type of medicine. And that's what we're going to be tapping into with their next level program. And there's some amazing things out there. And we'll talk more about that in the episode next week, just going along with what it is that, you know, the people that we were around last week, we'll talk about the importance of things like whether it's breath work or whether it's even sound healing. And I know that sounds kind of foo-foo, and you guys know everything that we do is very pragmatic, and there's science behind that. And coming from even a Christian background myself, even being able to see the science and why these type of modalities actually do work, we'll start talking about that. In fact, we're also going to be a part of a retreat that's going to be coming up, a couple of them, one that's coming up in November that uses some of these other healing type of modalities. I know we're going to be speaking in London as well, coming up here in November to a group of folks about what it is that we do to be able to get them back to this foundation. But the first thing is the foundation, right? You don't build a house on the sand, I've heard.
Yeah,
right? It doesn't work out too well.
Well, it's very expensive if you do. And if you know, bad foundation. But no, you're right. And this is where a lot of the biohacking world can get lost, because they're doing all these amazing, incredible, like brilliant type technologies. But at the same time, it's kind of like from our good friend, Dr. Patrick Porter, founder and CEO of BrainTap. He's like, you can have great brain health, but it doesn't override a horrible metabolism. Hence why he was, 60 pounds overweight with a healthy brain. So this is where you don't want to like try to gloss over laying down and putting the work in to get your body fat adapted, get it insulin sensitive, regain the metabolic flexibility, guys. That is the latest buzzword in the health and wellness field, is creating metabolic flexibility. And really, nobody really understands fully how to do that. They've made it too complicated, or they've made it too expensive and not available to most people, because you're talking about spending tens of thousands of dollars to work with these people or buy their technologies. When we're able to come in and do this in a very short amount of time, working with our Real Food Nutrition, which, by the way, those are the things Rob and I do have in common. We eat real food, all right? We eat when we're hungry, all right? We avoid all nut and seed oil. How we implement that is unique, but our foundational values, because we want to give our body those real foods, is the same. As you guys know, we're very congruent there. But yeah, so don't get lost in the biohacking world. There's a lot of great things. I got a text from a client the other day like, hey, what do you think about cold plunging? Who's heard of cold plunging? Cold thermogenesis, activating the brown adipose tissue. It can uncouple mitochondria, create a thermogenic burn. I was like, well, cold plunges can be great. But before we start doing cold plunges, let's establish a healthy metabolic baseline. Worry about following the program here in week 3. Let's get you the result. Let's get you a brand new metabolic profile, and then you can add those things after the fact. Don't go there first, because it's not going to get you where you want to be. Yeah.
So for those of you guys who are wondering what we're talking about, who are our listeners and not our customers or our clients, you can go to h2thinvirtual.com to get more information about that foundational program that we have. Start there. For those of you guys who are wondering, what do I do? Where do I start? Start there. And then you can be a part of our great group. So we're going to jump into that group right now. So those of you guys who are listening to the podcast, thank you so much for listening today. Have a wonderful day. Like it, share it, subscribe, comment, let us know that you love it. And thank you guys so much for listening.
Thank you guys.
Thanks for listening to the Happy Healthy Life podcast. If you enjoy the show, make sure to follow them on Instagram at the H2 Life or on YouTube and Facebook at the Happy Healthy Guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, follow, and review the show wherever you listen to podcasts.